Hi. My name is Dominic Williams. I'm a writer and a poet from Wales, and I'm here in my home in Ferryside on the Towie Estuary. That's my dog barking in the distance there. I've shortly returned from a few days in Sweden. While I was in Sweden, I was collaborating on various artistic endeavours with some partners, and the project was part funded by Wales Arts International through the International Opportunities Fund. I wanted to ensure that every opportunity I was offered while I was performing my craft, my practice outside of the UK, I seized and maximised to its full potential. I was originally invited by a few organisations in Sweden, primarily Cultivera, a cultural organisation, to come and do a series of readings in a short tour in different venues across Sweden. I spoke to various other people, and we wanted to broaden the project out a little, give it as much depth as possible, and the project was called Sweden and the Language Arts. I think language arts is a great term to encompass the spoken word, literature, publishing, creative writing, all aspects of the language arts. And it was particularly a good term, I think, because it very well describes my engagement at different levels. I have a publishing house based here in the village. I'm a poet and a writer. I edit work for the publishing house. I'm a director of a small literary community interest company called Write for Words, and we engage in various festivals and spoken word events. So primarily, going to Sweden, I wanted to fill my persona as a poet. That was the role that I wanted to take in this, primarily in this particular project. There were 3 readings that I performed. The first was in a Thai restaurant in Tranås called Ban Thai. Now, I'd been to Sweden previously as part of the Dylan Thomas Centenary celebrations, and we'd started a little spoken word open mic event in Ban Thai, and it's great to know that a year, 2 years on, that is now a regular event that's been run by the local community. One of the curses of taking different roles in the public arena, particularly connected with creative writing, is that as soon as they knew I was coming to be the special guest reader at this particular event, they said, "Oh, can you please MC the event?" Which of course I did, but I kind of felt that I was torn between 2 roles. I was very pleased to read alongside at the event with Jackie Hayden, the Irish rock music industry legend, and that event really was like a homecoming. It was wonderful to be back in a place where I'd met lots and lots of different artists, lots and lots of different writers previously. So it was a great way to start the tour off. The event in Stockholm was in the cellar bar of Cafe String, which is in one of the suburbs of Stockholm, and that was a totally different event. It felt wonderful to be welcomed into a community of writers, a community of nationally established poets, names like Boel Challoner and Henry Bronett and Bengt Björklund. It was an honour to perform on stage alongside these people, but also it felt like a real tradition of artists, and there was music on stage as well, and I felt comfortable enough to take some words that I'd written and form them into lines, maybe not even a fully completed poem, but form them into lines live on stage with a percussionist accompanying me. The event in Uppsala was different again. Uppsala is a university town. It has a different literary scene to Stockholm. It's perhaps more international in Uppsala. Certainly The writers that I read with and spoke to, had discussions with, were from many different European countries, and in fact it was in Uppsala where I met my first Welsh-speaking host, who was a Japanese lady who'd studied at Aberystwyth University. I've worked in publishing for many years. Apart from my own publishing house, I worked as a marketing director for Parthian for many years and worked in New York, Tokyo, London. Around launch events, around meetings with sales reps, I always try to pack in as much as possible into a business visit. And so it was in Sweden. We had two very long days, two very long work days. On one day I had the opportunity to meet with Irish and Swedish partners to develop an application for a bid to Culture Europe. Unfortunately that bid was later unsuccessful, but I know that I can now go to Wales Arts International, and when we resubmit, perhaps get a lot more advice to help Write for Word. Although we were not the lead partner, the Irish partner was the lead, to ensure that we can maximise whatever we can within the bid. We also spent a day, I chaired a panel with members of the Literature Centre in Tranås, shortlisting residents for the WBH 2015 literature residency. We had over 100 entries from writers literally from every continent on the globe, many award-winning writers. So it was a long day working through those to get a short list of 20 that we could then take to the next stage. I spent a day editing with a Swedish poet whom I'm publishing, and albeit in the same language, his first language is Swedish, and we come from two different literary traditions, two different cultures, and it was invaluable having that face-to-face contact and being able to work through the little nuances that you simply wouldn't be able to do in the many Skype calls that we've had and the email exchanges. We made a visit one day down to Jönköping, where I met the socially driven theatre company Teateri, and we spoke about the possibilities of exploring connections with Welsh companies like Mess Up the Mess, for example. So there were many things around the reading tour that I felt enabled me to develop my networks, my profile, if not my reputation as a poet. Shortly after announcing the project in Sweden, I was invited to perform at a festival in Ireland, the Tramore Promenade Festival, later that summer. And as a result of that, a short film was made about the festival, and a poem of mine was used as part of the soundtrack for that film. There were many outcomes from the project, and many of them have been recorded in my written report for Wales Arts International. But I think perhaps something that epitomises it for me is that months later, at the international residency in Sweden in the summer of 2015, I was involved in a collaboration with another writer, and who would have thought that out of this trip would have come an event where a Welsh poet and a Portuguese short story writer were collaborating on a performance that was based on dance and spoken word. Great opportunities, great outcomes. Thank you very much, Wales Arts International.